This is the Kevin Trudeau Show.
I am exposing the corruption in government and in major multinational corporations. We're telling you the things that they don't want you to know that will make your life better.
Welcome, everyone. Kevin Trudeau here. It's the exciting Wednesday. Everything they don't want you to know about. Glad to have you with us. We have a fantastic show today. First, we're going to talk about something I have been mentioning on this show for the last several weeks, actually since the show's relaunch, and that is you are being misled. You are being lied to by the government and by the mainstream media. You are being misled. I talked about how the CIA, as well as the KGB, and again, I'm not making this stuff up from personal experience. You know, this came directly from my personal experience being involved with it, and in discussions with Mikhail Gorbachev, who was the last prime minister of the Soviet Union, and I'm not going to mention all the other people, General Norman Schwarzkopf, and there's pictures at the end of the show. You see me and Schwarzkopf, you see me and Gorbachev on the private jet and things. You know, this is the real deal. Controlling the flow of information as well as misinformation is the ultimate power. You are being misled, and you've been misled for your whole life. It starts with advertising. Marketing companies lie to you and they mislead you. For example, the tobacco industry knew back in the 50s, they had the research and they had the data that smoking caused cancer and a whole host of health problems. The tobacco industry had the data. It was absolute. Smoking cigarettes causes cancer, and smoking cigarettes causes a whole host of other health diseases and illnesses. They had that data. It was in the safes of the big tobacco companies. And they went in front of Congress under oath. I promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God, under the penalty of perjury. These are recorded. You can see the recordings where the senators said to the tobacco executives, do you have any knowledge or even a suspicion that smoking cigarettes causes any type of illness or health problems in the smoker? And the executives would look and say, no, smoking actually is healthy for you. It's prescribed by doctors, Mr. Senator. We don't have any data or any knowledge, and we don't suspect at all that smoking causes any illness or any adverse health effects in the person who's doing the smoking. They lied. They lied for decades. And then finally they said, okay, we've been lying for decades. We have all the data. Here it is, all the research that was done. It's been in the safe for decades. We have the studies. We know it causes cancer, but we can't say that because then we'll be barraged with lawsuits. So it's the executives of companies lie. The politicians lie, the media lies, and a lot of them don't even know they're lying. Some of them are just repeating things, thinking it's the truth. But many of them lie. Talked about last week how Bill Clinton said there's absolutely nothing on Groom Lake, Area 51. There's no installation there. And then say, all right, we lied. I had to say that because it was a secret. Okay. So you have been programmed to believe certain things by advertisers, and every time you watch the media, and now the CIA is infiltrated and has control over social media, which is why you see censorship and people being banned everywhere, and why they have this whole thing, the truth police, the thought police, use the word misinformation. Misinformation is defined as if you say something that the government disagrees with. That's misinformation. So first off, let me show you some ads here, which I think are freaking hilarious. over the years and decades, unsuspecting people like you, I'm not going to call you a sucker, you didn't know you were being misled. You don't know. You think everybody's honest because you're an honest person. You don't know that people are deceitful. Marketing companies and big corporations have been lying and deceiving you forever. And on this show, I'm going to show you the products you should stay away from, you think are healthy. The advertising, for example, you buy any product and it says all natural, throw it away and never buy anything from that company again. Because the word all natural, and I have been in the meetings, I've been in the marketing meetings, on the boards, and they go, here's how it goes. Well, we have a peanut butter here, and we want to market it. We know that there is a market for healthy products. We know that. So what we want to do is, what can we do to convince the stupid consumer that our peanut butter is actually healthy, when in fact we know it's loaded with chemicals and poison ingredients and hydrogenated oil that is causing heart disease and making them depressed and need antidepressants. Even though we know this is an unhealthy product, we know it. What can we do to convince the suckers, the stupid people, that it's healthy? I have an idea. Yes, sir. We can use the word all natural. Can we say that? Yes, because the government, sir, we've paid the lobbyists tens of millions of dollars, and they got the government to pass laws defining all natural. And it pretty much means anything. So we can put pretty much anything in the product and still call it all natural. Matter of fact, there are 15,000 chemicals that we're allowed to put in there and still call it all natural. And the people will actually think it's healthy. Perfect. So they put on all natural. It means nothing. Then you think, oh, well, Kevin, I buy this, it says organic. Time out. Did you know that there are 3 levels of organic? There's organic. Next one is made with organic ingredients. And the next one is 100% organic. Well, what's the difference? I don't know the exact percentages, but it's something like this. Organic, or made with organic ingredients, you can have 1% organic ingredients in there. It's only 1% of the product is organic because it's made with organic ingredients. So you can put 1 organic ingredient in there and then say, made with organic ingredients. And the word organic's on the label and you think it's great. The next one is organic, just organic. All it has to be is something like 30% organic ingredients. The rest can be poisonous chemicals. You can still put the word organic on there. The third one is 100% organic, and it doesn't have to be 100% organic because I think there's some percentage of chemicals you can still put in there and still call it 100% organic. See, this is how you're being misled. But you've been being misled by marketing people forever. So here's some actual ads. These are not made up, and some idiot is going to leave a comment. There's been an idiot on there. And I'm glad that I am pissing you off so much that you watch every single show and put down an idiotic comment. That shows me you're still watching. He says, the call-ins are fake. He knows the callers and he knows the questions. Categorically untrue. First off, how would you even know that? You can write, I suspect that the callers are fake, that Kevin actually knows the callers and the questions, but don't put a statement of absolute fact when you know nothing. And if you have called in on this show, many of you have, you know that I don't know who's calling. I don't pick the callers. I just look over here to William and say, give me the next caller. We have a screener that takes the call, asks your name, where you're from, and what type of question. And if it's a stupid question, we're probably not going to take that question on the air. But I don't know who it is or what the question is. So if you've been a caller, leave a comment and say, I called in, he did not know I was calling, he did not know me, and he did not know the question. So, I mean, and there's other comments in there of people that just are, it just shows how stupid you are, quite frankly. Because I could address every one and show you. But see, this is what you normally do. When I say you, I'm talking about you. You jump to a conclusion. You assume. Some of you don't know the magic of the word assume. Assume just makes an ass out of you and me. Don't assume anything. Get the facts first. There are 6 honest serving men, and you use them till you die. They are what, when, and where, who, how, and why. Ask all the questions first before you make a statement of fact when it's simply your opinion. Years ago, there was a book called Becoming Rich by my friend Doug Weed. He's passed away. And Dexter Yeager, they co-authored the book. Both of them have passed away now. And in that was a book called Fact versus Opinion. And Doug and Dex pointed out that what most people think are facts are actually somebody's stupid opinion based on very little facts. It's a conclusion and an opinion based on very little data. And what most people think are facts are not facts at all. That's why when your attitude's right, folks, the facts don't count. All right, so I'm going to show you a couple ads here. So here's the first ad. I love this one here. Cocaine toothache drops. This is a real ad. Instantaneous cure. I don't know what it cures. Lloyd Manufacturing. We should actually call the Lloyd Manufacturing Company, see if they still make the cocaine toothache drops. That would be good. Instantaneous cure. They're selling cocaine. It was illegal at one point. All right, let's look at the next. This is great. Here's a little baby. Yeah, let's give the kids 7-Up. Why we have the youngest customers in the business. 7-Up. Nothing does it like 7-Up. Do you know what the active ingredient in 7-Up was? Lithium. It was lithium water, which gave you a lift. It's a drug. And here they're promoting it because they know, the manufacturer knows that it is physically addicting. And if they can get a little baby, a stupid mother, if they can get a stupid, ignorant, uneducated mother, look, I'm being harsh. This mother who was serving their baby 7-Up, or the mother today who serves their baby apple juice, I'm not saying you're an idiot. You're doing an idiotic thing. You are well-intentioned. You think giving the baby apple juice is good. It isn't. You are killing the child. You are giving them too much sugar, too fast, in a refined state. I'm not going to talk about that today. But what you're doing, you think is in your best interest. Oh, I'm giving my baby juice, it's good. No, it's the absolute worst thing you can give other than Coca-Cola or some soda. But here, the manufacturer knows that if they can get the child drinking this substance, and the child isn't going, I want 7-Up. The child doesn't know what it wants. If you fed the child fruits and vegetables, it would crave them because that's what the body craves. But once you start giving the kid a donut, a piece of chocolate, some soda, some juice, they are now chemically addicted because you gave them effectively a drug. So this ad is, let's get the kid addicted to the drug 7-Up. Now there's another era, before I show you this ad, there's another era of ads out there. Hold on, I gotta get these right here. This is, I think, really, really good. And this is the era of men. Make sure I got all these lined up in a row here. This is an era where men kind of controlled everything. This was propaganda, it was programming, it was coming from agencies, and I'm aware of the history here. I wasn't involved in this one particularly, but I was with friends of the guys in the Brotherhood who were. This was designed to keep women suppressed. So let's take a look at this ad. The chef does everything but cook. That's what wives are for. Some of the guys are going, let's bring back that era when wives actually cooked. What a demeaning thing. Imagine if you ran that today. Okay, here's another one. Imagine this today. Put this one up. Keep her where she belongs. On the floor and naked. I mean, kissing your feet. Talk about a sexist, outrageous ad that was completely acceptable to both men and women back in the era. Let's show the next one. Christmas morning, she'll be happier with a Hoover. Give her, as a Christmas present, a vacuum cleaner so she can then work for the rest of the year, keeping the house clean. And she's so happy. P.S. to husbands. She cares about her home, you know. So if you really care about her, wouldn't it be a good idea to consider a Hoover for Christmas? Get her a vacuum cleaner. She'll be thrilled. Oh, honey, thank you. You're so romantic. You gave me a vacuum cleaner so I can keep the house clean for you. I love this one. Okay, put this one up. Is it always illegal to kill a woman? Seriously, isn't it legal in some instances to kill a woman? I mean, and this is about a postage meter. They're selling a Pitney Bowes postage meter. All right, here's the last one here when it comes to the women one. But this one. All right, hold on a second. When you put this on this, imagine this today. Imagine this today when it comes to domestic violence. Put this up on the screen. If your husband ever finds out you're not store testing for fresher coffee, you're going to be beaten. If he discovers you're still taking chances on getting flat, stale coffee, you bitch. If you don't get the right coffee, you are in for a beating. So you better buy Chase and Sanborn coffee. Unbelievable. All right, now, not done with the ads. Back in the day, today, pedophilia is a big thing kind of in the news. Older guys going after young boys or young women, 14, 15, 16-year-old guys, 30 years old and above, inappropriate. And then some people have pedophilia where they go after 11, 12, 13-year-olds, kind of an illness and a sickness. So imagine this ad today. Let's put this up. Loves Baby Soft because innocence is sexier than you think. Oh my God! I mean, you got this little baby on here and you're saying she's sexy. Wouldn't you like to go out with her and take her home and take her to bed? Are you kidding me? But this was, by the way, this type of ad was prevalent everywhere where there was a promotion of young girls, very young girls, as well as boys, having sex with older people. This was promoted throughout Hollywood. Charlie Chaplin was noted for sleeping with very young girls. And by the way, half of Hollywood was. If you read the book The Godfather, there's based on a true story. There was a scene in there where the producer is sleeping with this 11 or 12-year-old girl, and it's not the only one. It's something that's sick and disgusting. It goes on at the higher echelons of both politicians and corporate executives, but if there's one place where it's more than ever, it's in the entertainment field. That's a very sick ad. Now look at this one here. Before you scold me, Mom, maybe you'd better light up and have a Marlboro. Before you beat the shit out of me, Mother, have a cigarette and calm down. So this ad is designed for mothers who beat their children. And it's basically saying, gee, Mommy, you sure enjoy your Marlboros. You'll never need to feel over-smoked. So you can smoke as many as you want. And before you beat me, make sure you smoke that cigarette. I love this one. All right, so this one, imagine this ad today. Imagine this ad. Put this one up. Johnson revolvers are not toys. They shoot straight and kill. Okay, what's the gun for? Oh, it's for target practice. It's for hunting. No. I want a gun that will shoot straight and kill. That's what I'm looking for here. Okay, let's go back to the next one. This is another drug. Let's get the kids addicted to drugs. 7-Up wasn't the only Cola company going after the children to get them physically addicted. Here we are with this one here. A better start to life. Start cola early. How soon is too soon? Not soon enough. As soon as that baby comes out, I mean, day one, after the umbilical cord is cut, God damn it, give him a cola. Laboratory tests over the last few years have proven that babies who start drinking soda during that early formation period have a higher chance of gaining acceptance and fitting in during those awkward preteen and teen years. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? That's how they sold it. Lie, lie. We know it's a lie now, right? It's a chemical physical addiction. Promotes active lifestyle. Coca-Cola boosts personality because it has cocaine in it. It had cocaine. Coca, that means cocaine. Coca-Cola had the cola nut, which was caffeine, and it had cocaine. It was cocaine and caffeine from the cola nut, and it had sugar. So it says, boost your personality. I asked a guy one time who was a massive coke addict. I says, why do you do cocaine? He goes, it intensifies your personality. In other words, it boosts your personality. I says, what if you're an asshole? Do you become a bigger asshole? Can you imagine this today? Think about how people were back then, trusting big corporation, trusting the magazines that accepted these ads, trusted our government that allowed these ads. The Federal Trade Commission allowed these lying, deceptive, hurtful, harmful ads that were promoting pedophilia, promoting wife beating, promoting getting children addicted to drugs as early as babies. Think about it. All right, here's one. So you put this up here. According to repeated national surveys, more doctors smoke Camels than any other cigarettes. People don't realize that back in the day, every doctor smoked. When you walked into a doctor's office or a hospital, there were ashtrays everywhere, and everybody was smoking. You could be a patient. I just came in for lung surgery. The doctors prescribed cigarettes for a host of illness. They were lying then, and they're lying to you now. Okay, here's this one. This is a weird one. I don't understand this at all. I really don't. Maybe somebody can explain it to me, but I thought it was funny because I couldn't understand it. So put this one up. Blow in her face and she'll follow you anywhere. What? Hit her with tangy Tipolet cherry or rich grapey Tipolet burgundy or luscious Tipolet blueberry. It's wild. Tripolet, it's new, it's different. Delicious in taste and in aroma. A puff in her direction and she'll follow you anywhere. Well, first off, that's a lie. We know that's not true. If you blow smoke in a woman's face or anybody's face, they're probably gonna go, you stink, and run away. It's a blatant, flagrant lie, not like, oh, great, I'm gonna follow you anywhere. Lie, 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 lie. All right, so here's another one here. How mother and baby picked up. So mother and baby, how do they get a pickup? Easy. A case of Blatt's beer in your home means much to the young mother, and obviously baby participates in its benefit. The malt in the beer supplies nourishing qualities that are essential at this time, and the hops act as an appetizing, stimulating tonic. Blatt's beer. So you're a young mother, you're breastfeeding your child. Drink beer all day, become an alcoholic. It's good for your baby. Really? Okay, one last one. Again, in an era, before we put it out, in an era where men dominated in every aspect and men wanted to keep women in their place, men were still pissed off that women were allowed to vote and go to college. So outrageous. Outrageous. Okay, look at this ad. Beautiful but dumb. She has never learned the first rule of lasting charm. a long-lasting deodorant. The first rule of lasting charm is don't stink like a pig. So, what an ad selling deodorant. Which brings me to, I will switch from world's greatest mentor now to natural health expert for a moment. Natural health expert for a quick moment. Today there are ads all over for full body deodorants. Lumi is one of them, and there's a few others, and other companies jumping on because they are flying off the shelves. And that means that most people know that they stink like pigs, that they are repulsive, that their odor is repulsive to themselves and others. And they think, I need to do a deodorant. That is handling the symptom, not the cause. The question is, what is causing you to stink like a horse? Okay? What is causing you to reek an odor that is repulsive to you and everybody around you? It's not natural. Everybody has a body odor, yes. And by race or by region, based on what you eat, it will determine the type of odor you generally have. Now, that is a generalization, but that's a fact of life. Certain groups, let's say from India, have a different body odor than somebody from Japan or the Japanese people in general, which have a wildly different body odor than Norwegians or Scandinavians, which have a different body odor than Eskimos, which have a different body odor than Native American Indians, for example, et cetera, et cetera. So this has been tested and proven. Dr. Hirsch is a smell expert, and he did all the research on this, as well as other doctors. I believe it was Dr. Hirsch. And many other doctors have researched this. But it also has been proven and found that based on what you consume, it affects your smell. We know this for any one of you who are a little bit older, maybe my age. Back in the day, garlic made you reek of garlic. Today, because garlic, most of it comes from China, and it has virtually no taste. You have to use like so much garlic to get any garlic flavor. When I grew up, you just took one small clove of garlic, chopped it up, put it in a pan with some oil, started frying it up before you made the sauce or something. The whole house smelled of garlic. It reeked of garlic. And in my day, if you went out on a date, you would never order anything with garlic in it, because that meant for the rest of the night, you are going to reek of garlic. And the woman probably wouldn't want to kiss you because you would be so offensive with that garlic smell, which would be coming out of all of your pores. So you only ate garlic if your date was eating garlic as well. And I remember I was on a date one time, and the girl says, let me ask you a question. She said, do you like garlic? I said, I'm Italian, of course I like garlic. She goes, I like garlic too. If I order something with garlic, will you order something with garlic? I'll never forget that. And this was back in the 80s. And I said, yeah. She goes, good, we can both smell together. And we both laughed. But we both reeked of garlic, but because we both were smelling of garlic, it wasn't offensive. Which is why if you have a body odor based on your culture or country or race or ethnicity, if everyone else has the same body odor, you don't notice it. But once you take that person and you put them into a different group, now it becomes very, very offensive. But not so much. The body odors that are being promoted today are not that type of situation. It's coming from the toxins and the poisons in your body. Example, when you go and have a bowel movement, I will now talk as a natural health expert, I am not a doctor. I am sharing my opinions, which the government will say is misinformation, and they'll say you can't say that, it's misinformation. I am giving my opinion, and I'm giving what I know to be true. Look, everything in the book Natural Cures, they don't want you to know about, which is this book right here, for those of you who haven't seen it. This was the #1 New York Times bestseller. It was #1 on the New York Times bestselling list 26 weeks in a row. Sold, I believe, over 50 million copies. It's the #1 bestselling health book of all time. The year that it came out, it was the #1 selling book in all of America in any genre. This is the Bible. Everything I said in here, I was crucified on NBC, ABC, CNN, Fox. I was crucified by the government. They sued me. They threw me in prison because I said misinformation. I gave false medical advice. And now we know everything I said in here that they said was false is virtually true. I said talcum powder causes cancer. It's true. I said cinnamon can reduce blood sugar for diabetics. It's true. I said there's a product called Eliotin from Canada, which can help the pancreas in many cases and almost cure diabetes in some cases. Now it's been proven to be true. I said that the doctor had credentials. They said there is none. I showed them a picture of the doctor with the heads of Calgary University. It's like, oh, well, when we called them, they say it didn't happen. They lied. I have a picture of it. I showed them the picture, etc. So this book is the Bible. That's why I can talk extensively on this. For 30 years, I traveled the world. I interviewed over 6,000 healthcare providers who were curing virtually every disease without drugs and surgery. That's how I wrote the book. I cured myself of massive heart disease. I was born with a deformed heart. I used natural, non-drug, and non-surgical ways to cure and prevent disease. So I can talk intelligently on this subject. If you stink, you're toxic. If you go to the bathroom and you have a bowel movement and it reeks, that means it's toxic. The feces in your stool has been sitting there and putrefying for way too long. Most people need a colon cleanse anyway. You have to clean that out. It was said that John Wayne had 18 pounds of undigested fecal matter in his colon, impacted. Much of it had been there for decades. And when you do colonics and go to cleansing facilities like Angel Farms and Hawaii, they see, because you do the colonic in a tank, and you can see what's coming out of your body. And even though you're virtually fasting and putting nothing in, stuff continues to come out, big chunks of stuff, big worms, parasites. You can see the worms, and big chunks of undigested fecal matter, stuff that comes out, it looks like a black inner tube, is coming out 2 weeks later after you haven't eaten anything. How is that possible if you haven't put anything in, that it's still coming out big chunks of stuff? That means it's been impacted. People's stomach gets flatter when they clean their colon. But another thing that happens, and they feel better, they feel lighter, their food cravings go away, they don't have gas, bloating, and so forth. But another result is that they stop stinking because you don't have toxins. You will have a body odor, a natural body odor, yes, but you won't stink. So if you need a full body deodorant, I'm telling you right now, that is a symptom of toxicity, and that symptom is going to turn around and relate to illness and disease down the road. Okay, before I get into how the government is, and I'm going to give you stuff right now that's going to blow your mind. I got tons of, I'm going to go rapid fire. But before I do, I have to give you my book recommendation of the week and my movie recommendation of the week. Everyone loves this. All right, so my book recommendation of the week is one of the absolute must-reads if you are interested in success. It is the book that covers a subject. It was the first book ever written to cover this subject in great detail. Before this book came out, virtually nobody talked about this subject. They kind of skirted it, but nobody figured it out. This doctor, Maxwell Maltz, came out and wrote a book called Psycho-Cybernetics. And Psycho-Cybernetics, this is the original edition. The original edition was published in 1960. There is an updated edition. Do not buy the updated edition with Dan Kennedy. Throw it away. You want the original edition. Now, this is the deluxe edition. It's got a nice binder. It's obviously beautiful. It's got, it's a beautiful book. It's beautiful to hold. I like the deluxe edition, Psycho-Cybernetics Deluxe Edition, the original text of the classic guide to a new life, Maxwell Maltz. You have to get the original 1960 edition. What is the subject that he talks about that is kind of the magic to success? Self-image. Last week's book, Zig Ziglar talks about self-image. The reason he talks about self-image in that book, and Zig's book was written in 1974, was he read Maxwell Maltz's book. And so he understood the power of self-image. So this book is really something special. Chapter 1, the self-image simply your key to a better life. And it explains in great detail the mechanism of how the mind works, how you see yourself and perceive yourself is a compass that will determine your direction in life. Discovering the success mechanism within you. That's chapter 2. Chapter 3, imagination, the first key to your success mechanism. Dehypnotize yourself from false beliefs. We've been talking about on the show for many, many weeks that you've been programmed for failure. You have beliefs that have been instilled in you, unbeknownst to you, because you've been put into a trance. You virtually have been hypnotized. And so this book specifically talks about, just like my course, Your Wish is Your Command, and the Success Mastery course and the Science of Personal Mastery course, they go into great detail. But this book talks about this, how to utilize the power of positive thinking. And it just goes on. How to unlock your real personality. It's a powerful book. It's a short book, but it's a powerful book. So I highly endorse and recommend this book. Now, when you read this book, it talks about that you need to improve your self-image. I'll tell you the one downside with the book is it gives you some basic steps on how to change or improve your self-image. My course, the Science of Personal Mastery course, gives you the absolute step-by-step technique without any mystery. I tell you, do this, write this down, repeat that which you wrote down, rewrite the list, do this, do this. I tell you very specific. It's a formula, it's a recipe, and it is 300 pages. And it takes around 3 months to do, about 20 minutes a day. It takes time, but in my Science of Personal Mastery course, I teach you exactly how to completely take out the self-image you have and replace it with the one that you want that'll give you the life that you choose. It is awesome. It's only available to Global Information Network members. They get it for free. And that's the only way you can get that course. So if you're interested, by the way, in that course, you can go, I'll give you 2 websites. One is yourwishisyourcommand.com. So we'll put that up on the screen. So you can go there, and that talks about the Your Wish is Your Command program. And if you click on the link, it allows you to sign up in the Global Information Network, where you get the Science of Personal Mastery course as well. Or you can go directly to globalinformationnetwork.com, either one, and peruse that. And when you sign up in the club, by the way, you get a personal member support coach that'll help you. These are high-level members that have been trained in all this material. They can answer your questions, help you navigate the website, make sure you get all the training. So you may want to consider that. Okay, so that's a great book, and that's a little great course there. Next, my movie recommendations. Hold on. I love this. This is great. I need a hat that says it. You know, the old hats. Okay, so now I am Kevin Trudeau movie critic. Kevin Trudeau movie critic. I got 2. Everyone loves my movies. I haven't heard one person say, I watched a movie you recommended and I didn't like it. They love the movie. So I'm going to give you 2 recommendations, 2 old ones this week. Sorry, they're both old. That means they're both in black and white. You will love them. The first one is a dark movie. But it's a movie that gives you insight, again, into mass hysteria. It's how the mass mentality is created. And if you watch this movie, you're going to learn about how masses get together and do irrational things. And then if you're smart, you'll think, have I ever been part of that group? Have I ever had that happen to me, where I was manipulated effectively to join a mass mentality and think irrationally and not be at cause and not have self-determinism, but just go and follow the crowd? But it's a great movie, and you're going to love it, and it's not very long. The movie is Frankenstein's Monster. Now, I'm not sure that was the original name, to the best of my knowledge. It may have been changed to just Frankenstein, but I believe the original title was Frankenstein's Monster, because the monster is not Frankenstein. The doctor that created the monster is Dr. Frankenstein. The monster was Frankenstein's monster. So when we see the monster, we think, oh, it's Frankenstein. No, that's Frankenstein's monster. Frankenstein, Dr. Frankenstein, was actually the doctor that created him. Highly recommend it. You've probably never seen it. Even if you've seen it, watch it again. It'll be like a brand new movie and you will be riveted. It has no sex. There's no violence. There's no graphic violence. It's scary, but there's no graphic violence. There's no cursing or swearing. So it is, I don't want to say fun for the whole family, because there's no such thing as fun for the whole family. Okay? Somebody in that group is not having fun. Here's a game. It's fun for the whole family. Trust me. There's some people on there that are faking having fun. It's not fun for them. So watch Frankenstein's Monster, or Frankenstein's Black and White, the original version, with Boris Karloff as Frankenstein's Monster, and let me know what you think. And if you watched any of my other movies that I recommend, go to the comment section and put that in. By the way, make sure if you're not a subscriber, click the subscribe button and leave a comment and share this with everyone you know. It's the only way we can get the numbers up. All right, next is another movie. Now, this one is a beautiful movie. This is absolutely fun for the whole family. I guarantee it. This is a great movie. It's called Miracle on 34th Street. And even though it's kind of a Christmassy movie because it's around the Christmas season, it has to do with Santa Claus, it is a lovely movie. Now, why am I recommending this movie? Number one, it is a clean movie. It's black and white. There's no nudity. There's no violence. There's no cursing. There's no swearing. There's no sexual themes. It is a movie that anybody and everybody can watch and enjoy. It's got great dialogue. It's got a great story. It's got a surprise ending. It's wonderful. It's got you guessing. It's wonderful. And it's a feel-good movie. When you end the movie, you're going to feel better. And you're going to feel magic. You're going to feel like there is magic in life. I can create things. There's one scene in this movie, and you have to find the scene, where the main character, I'll call him the Santa Claus character, and a young man, actually a boy, have a conversation. And the boy is being talked to by a psychiatrist or a psychologist and being screwed up. Psychologist is effectively brainwashing this kid into thinking he's a loser. And there's a conversation between that boy and the Santa Claus character. And if this doesn't just give you tingles all throughout your body and make you feel so powerful, like you can do anything, if nothing more than just that one scene, but you have to watch the whole movie to put it in context, and then see at the end what happens. You learn the secret of success and the secret of true happiness. Miracle on 34th Street. Highly recommend. Okay, so we have some headlines here in the news. These are headlines which are not being reported in the mainstream media. Now, I don't watch mainstream media from around the world. So if you're in Germany or Switzerland or England or Australia or the continent of Africa, and we have people calling in from all over the world, as you've heard, I don't know what's in your media. When I traveled the world, I used to always watch and see. So I'm only giving you what's in the American media and also on the American internet. I don't know what's out there. And we're going to talk to Drew and the team here about how to get headlines, because obviously it's in different languages from around the world. And we're going to start doing some more analysis there. But I know none of these are being reported in the mainstream media. The Brazil Supreme Court opens an investigation into Elon Musk over misinformation. Now, this is another example of the government trying to censor the free flow and uninhibited flow of people's opinions. Governments around the world are petrified because, as I mentioned, the CIA knows, because they know mind control, and same thing with the KGB, that when you control information and misinformation, that gives you ultimate power. With the internet, they're losing control of the flow of information, and they're losing the control of the flow of their misinformation that they're putting out purposely. They're losing that control. They want to get the control back. So they're investigating Elon Musk because he owns X, which used to be Twitter, and they want to control what is on there and what you see. It's all about controlling the information. This is so critically important to the global elitists. Now, just to give you another example, federal judge warns of Trump's attacks in extraordinary rebuke. So here is a sitting federal judge who's been appointed for life. He can't be fired. He's God, by the way. In the United States, a federal judge is God. They can do anything they want. They can say anything they want. They don't have to follow the law. They can rule any way they want. They can put you in prison for life if they want without charging you with a crime. You can appeal, but the guys who you're appealing to, they're in the same building. They get the paycheck from the same company. They have lunch together. They golf together. They talk about the cases which you're not supposed to do together. They don't stab each other in the back. You understand? So this federal judge, who's a sitting federal judge, says, federal judge delivers a rare response after Trump attacks the daughter of a judge. Now, let me give you the background here. President Trump, former President Trump, has a criminal case going on in New York. The judge's adult daughter, I don't know, she's 30, 40 years old. She has children. So she's not a kid. She's a political activist, a left-wing Democrat political activist. That's her full-time gig. Her firm is making tens of millions of dollars because Trump is being charged with criminal crimes. The fact that Trump is in court, she's using that in her promotions and marketing to make tens of millions of dollars. If Trump wasn't charged, she would not be making that money at all. Her money comes in direct relation to the fact that she is benefiting financially from Trump's criminal indictments and legal cases. She talks to her father, the judge, about this. I am not saying, because I do not know, that there's any impropriety. But clearly there's an appearance of an impropriety. If I'm the judge and my daughter is making tens of millions of dollars as long as Trump is still in court, I have a financial interest vis-a-vis my daughter to make sure that I create a circus here so that she can continue to make tens of millions of dollars. I certainly have a financial interest. It's not in my family's financial interest for me to throw the case out and end it, because then I shut off the tens of millions of dollars in profit that's going into my daughter's pocket. So Trump expressed his First Amendment constitutional rights and didn't say, like, attack the daughter, go after her. He just pointed out what I did. There's an apparent, at least a possible conflict of interest here with the judge. He has a financial conflict of interest. And it's just too close, so he should recuse himself. That's what Trump is saying. The media says Trump is attacking the daughter. No, Trump is pointing out the facts. That's not attack. That's pointing out the facts. But the media will lie to you and say Trump attacks the daughter, never says how old the daughter is, so you immediately think, oh, she's like, 15 years old. Trump, what a jerk he is. He's attacking this 15-year-old girl, the judge's little daughter. No, this is a grown adult with children who is a political left-wing activist who hates Trump, who is on every hate Trump committee. I hate Trump. We all should hate Trump. We want Trump to go to prison. She's the activist promoting, we want Trump in prison. We want Trump in prison. That's the judge's daughter. Isn't it a potential conflict of interest? That's what Trump said. And they're calling it Donald Trump's attacks on the judge and his daughter. They're not attacks. Donald Trump is expressing his First Amendment constitutional rights of free speech, expressing his opinions, and pointing out things as I just did. Did I attack the judge or attack the daughter? I don't think so. All I'm pointing out is it seems that it's a potential conflict of interest. And in the interest of justice, judge, just simply recuse yourself, give the case to somebody else who doesn't have a daughter who's out there going, we want Trump in prison, we want Trump in prison, and making tens of millions of dollars as long as Trump is in court. I mean, doesn't that make sense? But here's what this sitting judge said. This is the point. Here's a sitting judge responding to Trump, pointing out that the judge's adult daughter who has children is a Trump hater who's on every put Trump in prison committee and making tens of millions of dollars promoting Trump should go to prison. That's what Trump has said. And this sitting judge says it's very disconcerting to have someone making comments about a judge. Yeah, that is disconcerting, isn't it, Your Honor? Isn't it horrible that a U.S. citizen can say anything about God? Oh, I'm sorry, a federal judge. Isn't it disconcerting when somebody actually says something, defends himself? That's disconcerting? That's disconcerting? So you can slap Trump around all day. You can say anything you want to him, but it's disconcerting when he actually says something bad about you. This is not the judge that's on the case. This is another judge. So this judge is saying there should be a law, and the law should be no person, none, can say anything about a federal judge. That should be the law. That should be illegal. If you mention any judge's name or say anything about a judge, directly or indirectly, you should go to prison because you can't talk about a judge. I'm very, very concerned about people in this country now actually talking about judges. This is horrible. This is a federal judge talking. Can you see? Okay, let's use the word censorship. Let's get everybody to shut up. Don't say anything. Just like me on this show. There's words I can't say. They'll immediately shut me down. Censorship, censorship, censorship. They're afraid of the free flow of opinions and ideas. They call it misinformation. And clearly, by the way, there are people on the internet and over the years that have said things that are blatantly not true. I remember when Alex Jones was out there saying that Sandy Hook's massacre was all fake and staged and there were crisis actors. Look, I don't think he was using that as a technique to make money. I think he really believed that. And he even says he was a little delusional at the time and there were some other issues going on. Alex taps into the ether. When he reads a headline, he can tap in and get a feeling for what's happening. But on that particular instance, he certainly gave what you would classify as false, misleading information. And it certainly was harmful and hurtful emotionally to those families who lost their dear children. So it was a bad situation for everybody involved. It was bad. But you can't start having a thought police or a truth police that is going to determine what is truth and what isn't. You either have the free flow of information or not. You allow me to have a guest on here and I can say, hey, you just wrote a book. Yep. What's the name of the book? The Moon is Made of Cheese and Aliens Live on It. Are you sure? Absolutely, Mr. Trudeau. In fact, I dematerialized my body and rematerialized it on the moon. And after digging through many layers of dirt, I found that the moon is actually made of cheese. And after digging deeper, I entered the layer of the aliens. So I can attest to you that aliens live on the moon and it is made of cheese. Well, I hope people buy your book. Have a nice day. What if the government came in and said, arrest the man for providing misinformation? This is the delusional dissertation of a lunatic. But he should be allowed to say it, and he should be allowed to write the book. That's the point. And does the media lie? Does the media censor information right now? Yes. How do we know? Here's another headline you're not going to read anywhere in the world. Senior NPR. NPR stands for National Public Radio. It's basically a government-controlled and funded radio station, NPR. Senior NPR editor claims public broadcaster lacks viewpoint diversity. So let me explain this. NPR is horrible to listen to. So they don't have a lot of listeners. They don't make good radio shows. But how do they survive? They survive with the funding and grants from our sponsor, the New York Symphony. So they have some sponsor give them some money. But that doesn't handle their budget. They still lose money because they're terrible. If they were an independent for-profit company, they would have been bankrupt decades ago. How do they survive? Your tax dollars. The government gives them money. The government makes up the shortfall. That means they can produce the crappiest shows you've listened to with the worst interviewers. And there's a couple of them on there, by the way, are very good. I have to say that. But a lot of them are just terrible. There was a funny SNL skit, Saturday Night Live, about that. And it was just an example of how terrible and horrible the broadcasters were. It was a hilarious skit with, who's the guy who's, Alec Baldwin, right? Alec Baldwin, yeah, he was on that skit. And it was, if you want to look it up on YouTube, Sweaty Balls. But there was a couple other ones too, and it was really funny. But this guy is a senior editor. So he's a senior guy with NPR. And he goes on to say that there's no other viewpoints on NPR allowed other than left-wing liberal viewpoints. And if somebody even suggests a different position, they are ostracized or fired. And he goes on to explain this in great detail about the conservative versus non-conservatives. But this just gives you an example of how media has a political agenda. And in fact, all media in America, just like it is in Russia and North Korea, is nothing but a propaganda machine. So propaganda is we need to try to convince the people to a certain message. During the Second World War, there was Tokyo Rose. She was a radio announcer from Tokyo. She broadcast to the American GIs who were fighting in the Pacific Theater of Operation against the Japanese. And she wanted the Americans to tune on to listen to her. Hello, American GIs. This is your friend Tokyo Rose. You are fighting in the jungle. That's where you die. We live in the jungle, but you die in the jungle. Surrender. Turn yourselves in. We are winning the war everywhere on all fronts. You have no chance. Your country doesn't like you. They want the war to end too. Why are you wasting your life? Give up. Surrender. You will be better off. We take care of you. You surrender, you go to our wonderful prisoner of war camp where we follow all Geneva Convention rules. You live, and when war is over, you go back to your family. Why die? Why fight and die? Live, live. This is your friend Tokyo Rose. So the propaganda there was the Japanese were not winning on all fronts. But they're planting that seed of doubt. The big one was, if the guy surrendered, he didn't go to some prisoner of war camp where they followed the Geneva Convention. In the Japanese culture, if you surrender, you're a dog, you're an animal, you are less than human. So the prisoner of war camps in Japan, when you read stories, were absolutely horrendous. Horrendous. And many, many GIs died in those prisoner of war camps due to malnutrition and the way that they were treated by the Japanese. It was a horrible, horrible system. Because in Japanese culture, you fight to the death. You never surrender, you never give up, you fight to the death. And if you become a prisoner, you are dishonored and your whole family is dishonored. Because you should never become a prisoner. If you're a Japanese soldier, you should die. So if you're an American soldier and become a prisoner, you're scum of the earth. So that was propaganda. Propaganda happens all the time. And again, the CIA is involved. When I was with President Gorbachev, we were talking about how the KGB is infiltrated in all the media in the Soviet Union at the time. He goes, in the same way that your CIA is infiltrated all the media, magazines, newspapers, radio, and television, as well as Hollywood. And it controls the flow of that information. Because remember, controlling the flow of information and disinformation is key to power. CIA knows that, the KGB knew this, all the intelligence services know this. And this is how wars are fought, with controlling information as well as disinformation. During the Second World War, the Allies had to give disinformation to the Nazis. During the Normandy invasion preparation, the disinformation was that General George S. Patton Jr. was going to lead the invasion at the Pas de Calais with the Third Army. That army was a fictitious army. There were no tanks. There were blow-up tanks. There were no troops. It was all fictitious. All the radio traffic was made up. And it convinced Hitler and the high command of the Germans that the invasion was going to come at the Pas de Calais, head by Patton. This was a diversion so that the Allies didn't know the truth, that the invasion was coming in at Normandy. So this is what happens all the time in the media. And I'll give you another example of this. When Trump was president, he said something about China. And I'll be talking about this in the future, how manufacturing controls the economy after the controlling information. Manufacturing after the Second World War was primarily in the United States. We were the manufacturing capital of the world. We rebuilt Europe, we rebuilt Southeast Asia and Japan. We manufactured everything, but we built up their manufacturing. And if you notice, the next wave was Germany and Japan. They used to make everything. Everything was coming out of Japan because we built up their manufacturing to improve their economies. Now everything comes out of China. Why did we do that? Because China was starving for decades, hundreds of years. Everybody was starving. So they said, it's their turn now. Let's get their economy up. We'll increase the number of consumers. It'll be good for businesses all over the world. Sure, standard of living and quality of life will go down in America, but it will still be good enough. And the Americans will be so stupid they won't even realize that their standard of living and quality of life is going down. They'll think it's normal that both parents have to go to work and they still can't live in a new house and still don't have any money. Standard of living quality of life has gone down all across Europe, Australia, New Zealand, England, Canada, US. I talked about that in a couple other episodes. I'll do it again. But Trump said, I got a way of solving this problem. They're making all this cheap stuff in China. We can't compete because we have minimum wage laws. We have Environmental Protection Agency laws for smokestacks and putting stuff in streams. China is the worst polluter on the planet because they don't have any of those laws. They also don't have any minimum wage laws. So people can be required to work 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. And they're given a bowl of rice for lunch. There's no regulation. And because of the currency manipulation, if you make a toaster in China, the manufacturing cost of that toaster is like $1.25. If you make that exact same toaster in America or Canada, the manufacturing cost is going to be $12.95. Think about it. So manufacturing can't happen in America. If you made it in Germany, it'd be $15.95. So Trump said, because you're manipulating the currency and because it's an unfair playing field, if you're going to bring that toaster into America, I'm going to slap a tariff on it so that the cost is going to be the same as America. So now an American could say, hey, I can buy a US-made toaster for the same price as a Chinese-made toaster. And the US one's probably going to be better quality. So since they're the same price, I might as well buy the US one. That helps that company in the US. They make more toasters. They hire more people. Now we have people making a good wage, a middle class wage. That helps our economy. We grow again. Manufacturing is the key. Everybody, the Federal Reserve said, Trump is an idiot. He's saying put tariffs. Doesn't he realize that means people are going to have to pay more for goods and services? It's bad for the U.S. economy. No, it's bad for the Chinese economy. It's not bad for the U.S. economy. The tariff is bad. But they were saying it's terrible. He's an idiot. He's a moron. He doesn't know what he's doing. CNBC. Welcome to CNBC, the leader in financial news. We tell the truth. In today's news, Yellen, the director of the Federal Reserve and the smartest person on the planet when it comes to finance and economics, says she won't rule out tariffs on China's exports into the United States. She is brilliant. Tariffs will make the difference. And boy, thank God U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen figured it out when no one else did. We're so glad to have her as the Treasury Secretary and past director of the Federal Reserve. God bless America. So when Trump said it, he's a moron. When Janet Yellen says it, she's like the smartest person on the planet. Okay. All right. I'm running out of time here. I got so much stuff I want to talk about. So let me just tell you what. I got one more thing, by the way. This goes in the Kevin was right files coming from Robert F. Kennedy Jr. But before I talk, I'm going to tell you some of the things I'm going to talk about in the next episode. I'm going to talk about a big segment on health. So I'm going to be the health guy next week. And I'm going to talk more about microplastics. I'm going to talk about, there's a salt that if you eliminate one type of salt from your diet and replace it with this other salt, you'll lose 10 pounds in 5 days. And your stomach will get flat. That's called the tease. So hopefully you'll tune in next week and pass it around. You're not going to want to miss that. And the research on diet sodas, which one makes you fat and what drink actually makes you lose weight. So I'll be talking about that next week. Well, I get some other stuff too. All right, so this goes into Kevin was right pal. If you go back to many of my interviews, when I was interviewed, I think when I was interviewed on Alex Jones, I may have said this, but it definitely on my radio show back in the day in 2008, 2009, 2010, there were some mass shootings going on. And I was talking about the mass shootings on the show. And I pulled all of the media coverage of these mass shootings. And every time there's a mass shooting, which means an insane person goes into a school or goes into a nightclub or goes into an office or the post office and shoots 2 or 3 people. They call it a mass shooting. And it's horrific, right? Especially if you were there and you didn't get shot, just the fact that you were there, I mean, you'd be like traumatized for life unless you did some of the techniques that I can show you. If you were shot and not killed, you're traumatized for life. If you were shot and killed, your family's traumatized for life. It's horrible. It's just horrible. Every time one of these mass shootings go on, the debate is about gun control. We need to get rid of guns. Guns are what's killing everybody. And the argument is if we didn't have any guns in America, then nobody would have a gun to use in a mass shooting. So if we make guns illegal, then there won't be any guns. Nobody will have a gun because if a gun is illegal, it's impossible for a gun to exist in the United States. All you have to do is make it illegal. Once you make it illegal, there will not be a single gun anywhere in the United States. Therefore, all mass shootings will stop. And all killings with guns will stop. That's their first premise. And I said, well, if that's true, why don't you just make cocaine illegal? Because under that premise, if you make cocaine illegal, there won't be any. There won't be any cocaine anywhere in America. Oh, do you mean there is cocaine? All right, why don't you make heroin illegal? And then there won't be any more heroin. Oh, it's been illegal for 40 years? And there's still massive amounts of heroin all throughout. So the point is, if you make guns illegal, the only people who are going to have guns are the crooks. The criminals are still going to have the guns. Just because you made them illegal doesn't stop them. It's like we need to have the school set up as a no firearm zone. We'll make it illegal for anyone to carry a firearm into this, school zone. That'll stop mass shootings because the mass shooter with the AK-47 will walk in, see the sign, and it says, "You're going to get in big trouble, mister, if you have a gun and pass this. We're going to give you a ticket, fine you $1,000. It's illegal to have a gun past this point." So that mass shooter is going to see that sign and go, "Oh, shit. I was going to go in there and kill everybody, but I can't. I'm not allowed to have a gun. It's a no gun zone. Damn it. Okay, got to go home now. Figure something else out." Does this make sense? The criminal knows he's going to go to prison for life and die because he's committing murder. Do you think he cares about the $1,000 fine? Okay. But the premise was the guns are the problem. The guns are the problem. And I said, I've done some research, and it's not the problem. I mean, it's partially the problem. Guns don't, only a person kills. If he doesn't have a gun, maybe he can go in there with a sword, or he'll make a bomb. I don't think he's going to go in with a baseball bat and do a mass killing with a baseball bat. And unless he's a samurai warrior, he's probably not going to do a mass killing with a sword. But he can do some damage. But clearly, if he didn't have a gun, it would be better. But there's no way to eliminate the guns because the crooks are still going to have them. But the major reason for the mass killings is not the easy access to gun. Because I have easy access to gun. Everybody here has an easy access to a machine gun. How come we don't go kill everybody tomorrow? Because we're sane. So it's not easy access to guns. You could say it's insane, crazy people having easy access to guns. Good argument there. But how do you determine who's insane and crazy? I pointed out back then that mass shootings and killings, if you look at all of them, there is one common denominator, other than the fact that they use a machine gun or some weapon. The one common denominator was they were all on psychiatric prescribed depression medication. And I pointed out, if you look at the advertising, the number one side effect of taking Prozac or any of these psychiatric prescribed depression or anti-anxiety medications, you know what the number one symptom is? Side effect? Violence and suicidal thoughts, wanting to hurt yourself and others. The drugs are taking somebody who's already mentally unstable, and in my opinion, pushing them over the edge. Because it says, if you take this drug, one of the symptoms is desire to commit violence against others as well as yourself, suicidal thoughts. So guess, and I was ridiculed like I'm an imbecile. When I called up NBC, CBS, ABC, I said, well, how come you don't do that research? I talked to the journalist, and they said, they laughed at me. They said, Kevin, guess what? I'm a professional journalist, and I agree that needs to be investigated and at least discussed. But our network gets over half of its ad revenue from the pharmaceutical companies. You just look at the NBC nightly news. Look at all the drug ads. Those manufacturers sell these psychiatric prescribed medications. We can't do a story saying that they're potentially the problem, because that could risk billions and billions, tens of billions, hundreds of billions of dollars in profits to these companies. They're not going to stand by. We would never be allowed to say that. So just came out the other day, headline, you'll never guess what RFK Jr. says really causes mass shootings. I said, I bet I can guess. I said, I bet I can guess. So here's what he says. He goes, first off, why is there an increase in mass shootings when there's been no per capita increase in the number of guns in this country over the last 50 years? So we haven't had an increase in guns, but why is there a massive increase in mass shootings? He says, the causes need to be studied. And if you notice, the commonly used antidepressants and video games are prevalent in all mass shooters. Now, I missed the video games. Shame on me. That's impressive. He points out the same thing. If you take a person who starts off psychologically imbalanced for a whole bunch of reasons, then you give him antidepressants, and then he's spending all day long killing people on a video game, it's the cocktail. I'm telling you, it's the cocktail for a mass shooter. So this is another one that goes in the Kevin Was Right file. And we gotta get RFK on the show. That'll get me banned immediately from YouTube. All right, so next week, make sure you join us next week. We're gonna have a fantastic show. Please subscribe, hit the subscribe button. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe, leave a comment and share this with everybody. We're gonna put up a list of patrons and gold partners. If you're not a partner in the Kevin Trudeau Fan Club, I need your support. Plus you get a tremendous amount of benefits by being a partner. Go to KevinTrudeauFanClub.com, KevinTrudeauFanClub.com. We have no money for this show. We have no supporters. Fan club partners support and allow this show to go on. We don't have any sponsors yet. So the only way that this show is being funded, and we get 4 people here full-time on the payroll and all the equipment to purchase and the rent and the lights and everything, there's huge amounts of expense. That comes out of the fan club budget. So you being a partner, in addition to getting many, many benefits from being a partner, they're all listed at the website. Just hit Become a Partner, list all the benefits at the various partner levels. In addition to all the benefits, you are supporting this show, and I appreciate and love you very, very much from that. Remember, God lives within you as you. You're love and light. You're the pure extension and expression of God's love and light. Just as God is love, so are you. You are love and light. I love you, and so does God. You can do it, and don't let anyone steal your dreams. See you next week.